temperature 2 are things that tend to fall by the wayside with conditions which cause neuropathy. The chief amongst those would be what? Diabetes is the one. Diabetes mellitus. So that is classic cause of sensory neuropathy, amongst other things. So if you have a patient that can't discriminate, can't appreciate touch or pressure, particularly if they have some long-running wound that won't heal, an ulcer that won't heal, then suspect that they might be diabetic. And you can run a very quick in-house blood sugar test on them. You need to ask somebody on the clinic next time to show you the little gizmo. It's a bit like a pregnancy testing kit. You've got a little thing that draws a little clever blood, and you wipe it on the other end with black and litmus paper, and it changes colour. We do also have what are called clinicians. Have you heard of those? Rather less pleasant to use, I have to say. If you feel you prefer to do it that way, you ask your patient for a urine sample, and you've got this little litmus stick that you dip into the urine. If you're going to do that, it must be the first sample of the morning, the first sample of the day, before they've had the opportunity to take any sugars on board. So you can all do that now, and you know why you're doing that. Temperature, I ain't going to demonstrate, but we can do that by filling 2 test tubes, one with hot water and warm water, and one with cold water, and asking them to nominate warm or cold. That works fairly well. My preferred method is to assault them with the lighted end of a cigarette. That works really well. All the things we've talked about so far, all the sensory nerves that we've talked about so far, pass to the posterior horn of the cord at that level. So, for example, if we were testing the dorsum of the foot, we would be looking at the 4th and the 5th lumbar spinal nerves. Yeah. How can I say that? How can I be so precise? Or if we were looking at the sole of the foot on the lateral board, I would say S1, and on the medial board, I would say S2. Derm tones. Do you remember I did ask you to some research derm tones. Did you do it? So these are the areas of skin supplied by a single spinal nerve. So it's easy to work out, if you like, where the problem lies. It will either lie actually with the receptor, or with some nerve damage along the course of that sensory nerve back to its spinal origin or its spinal target. Or it could be a problem at that spinal level. It could be that you've got a crushed vertebra, L5, for example, or a nerve entrapment at L5. Or it could be that the problem lies in higher centers. The nerve enters the posterior horn on the side that it is. So if it's on the left foot, it will enter the left horn. And the sensory nerves almost always decussate at the point where they enter the cord. So they will cross from left to right at that level. So a spinal nerve entering L4 will enter the posterior horn and cross to the anterior horn on the opposite side. So Going on the left, posterior, it will pass to the right anterior. If it doesn't do that, it will pass to the right side into this area of grey matter in the lateral columns of the cord. From there, pretty well all of them pass up through the thalamus and to the parietal lobe of the brain. That is, if you like, the sensory cortex of the brain. So this lack of sensory appreciation could be local, it could be down to poor nerve involvement. In other words, it could be damage to the nerves, such a thing that diabetes produces, or I still call it DS, disseminated sclerosis, or whatever it's called these days. It's called something different these days, isn't it? My sister-in-law's got it. Why can't I remember it? Because I've got Alzheimer's. What's it called?
MS.
Yeah. Which is down to a demyelination of the nerve fibers as well, or also on the myelin tree, and loss of conductivity as a consequence. It could be down to nerve entrapment, it could be down to the fact that you cut the nerve, accidentally somehow severed the nerve altogether. It talks about problems at the spinal point, at the spinal nerve itself. At that point in the cord, it could be a higher center, it could be an upper sensory neuron that's damaged. Which brings us to things like proprioception and vibration senses and the like. What do we mean by proprioception? Yes, the ability to be aware of your position relative to your environment, so your place in space, as it were. And obviously lots of things contribute to this, not least to your eyesight, but you still know roughly where you are in space even if you close your eyes. So these pressure receptors will tell you whether you're seated, standing. You'll be stimulating nerve centers either in your bum or your feet or something.